Welcome to Coral Gables Now. Today on the show, many Coral Gables residents participated in a health study of Hispanics. We'll share some of the results. What determines what you buy at the market? Is it your food preferences or pocketbook? Or maybe something totally different? The answer may surprise you. Plus, think your job is tough? Imagine being the chef for one of the most powerful men in the world. You'll get an inside look at what it was like to be the head chef at the White House. And some young students didn't have to leave their classroom to explore the surface of the moon. There was a sighting of moon rocks in Coral Gables. Those stories and more when you join me now for Coral Gables Now. Welcome to Coral Gables Now. I'm Belkis Perez. Now, the Hispanic Community Health Study, or Study of Latinos, is the largest long-term study of health and disease in Hispanic populations living in the United States. The study began several years ago and focused on 4 areas: the Bronx, Chicago, San Diego, and right here in Miami. There was a considerable portion of Hispanic Coral Gables residents that took part in this study, and we've got Dr. Neil Schneiderman here. He is the principal investigator and program director for the Miami field office, and he's here to share some of the findings with us. Thank you, doctor, for being here.
Pleased to be here.
So the study began in what year?
2007.
Okay, and how long was it for?
Okay, for 3 years we brought people in, a little over 1,000 people each year. We ended up with 4,000
Wow.
in Miami, and that was in 2007 up through beginning of 2011, and now we're following them up, and we contact the people each year, and then we're going to begin again our second cycle next November, and that'll take 3 more years of data collection. And
Okay.
the people who do that, they come in for the last time it was a 6 to 8 hour exam, an overnight sleep study, a lot of effort that people put into that. It took a lot of volunteers to really do a good job.
It seems very extensive. You really delved into the entire health spectrum for these
Yes,
Hispanics.
we work from dental, hearing, cardiovascular, everything you could possibly think of, actually.
So what were some of the key results from that study?
Well, some of the key results have to do with basically, for instance, the prevalence of diabetes, for example, heart disease, blood pressure, and so on like that. And it turns out that something like about 17% of people have diabetes in the Hispanic community. And that compares, if you were looking at non-Hispanic whites, which would be about 10%. And it's interesting, it's about 18 or 19% in African Americans. Another aspect, though, that's interesting are the differences. We tend in this country very frequently to think of Hispanic Latinos as being one, just all the same.
Right.
And of course they're not. And so, for example, if we look at people who from South American background, you find out that it's about 10%, and it looks very much like non-Hispanic whites. If you look at Mexican Americans, their prevalence of diabetes is much higher, it's close to 18. And if you look at Cubans in the United States, and particularly in Miami here, it's about 13%.
Wow, interesting.
So there are differences.
Right, so depending on where you're from, the origin could have an effect on your genetics,
Yeah, for blood pressure, for diabetes, and for other risk factors.
So that could tell you that South Americans are a little bit healthier, in a way.
In several respects that we know of, that is true.
Wow.
We can look at things ranging from, because we look not only at their physical health, which we do, but at people's health habits and so on. We look at their weight,
You've now received the go-ahead to
for another 6 years.
Another 6 years. So the same group of people that you have been following all this time will now hopefully participate in this new study for 6 more years, so you can track them even further.
I'd like to take the opportunity, if I may, really to thank them, because people give up a lot. They have to take care of their own child care. They're not really reimbursed very much for anything that they're getting, and they're not compensated. They have to go through the pain of our calling them up periodically and doing things and imposing on them all kinds of way. And it's a real tribute to the Hispanic Latino community in the Miami area, and that's in Coral Gables, City of Miami, and Hialeah, who've participated, that they've so willingly done this. These are not volunteers in the ordinary sense.
And then they're doing it for the greater good.
To do a study like this, what you have to do is you have to go out and get pre-selected people and then get them to come in to participate in the study. And that, of course, means that you're not just getting people who sort of like to volunteer and are willing to come in. You're getting people who have all kinds of difficulties of trying to manage 2 or 3 jobs, multiple children, all kinds of responsibilities, and yet the people have been willing to come in and have been willing to be followed up, and that's really important for us to be able to learn about their health.
All right. Well, thank you, Doctor. We appreciate it. And if you would like more information on this study, you can always visit the website. It's www.saludsol.net. We'll be right back with more of Coral Gables Now.
Take a pop quiz with me. In what film did I feel a need for speed? What was my call sign? Who did I sit behind in the F-14? Oh, and one more question. Who does your kid sit behind in homeroom?
Know what really matters. Know about your kid's school and know about your kid. Find out 100 ways to know more, do more.
Welcome back. Coral Gables Police have a new high-tech crime-fighting tool. It's called Smart Water, and it's being offered to residents and business owners. Diana Herrera explains.
In an effort to deter crime in the City Beautiful, the Coral Gables Police Department announced the acquisition of a Smart Water CSI, a sophisticated product that, just like in the television show, it will help to catch the bad guys that break into our homes, cars, and other private spaces.
When you apply this on anything of value, whether that be your watch, your jewelry, your new TV set back at the house, or a manhole cover, whatever you apply this to, it applies a 1 in a billion signature that says it's your item.
Using advanced technology, Smart Water is a fluid that will taint the hands and other body parts of thieves when they're committing their robberies for prolonged periods of time, and hence it will assist the police with the identification and arrest of the suspect. The fluid is invisible to human eyes, but the police can detect it with special equipment, linking the fluid on the skin to a specific crime committed, since every Smart Water bottle has a unique fluid that will only relate to one crime at a time. Residents can purchase the high-tech solution through the Coral Gables Police Department, and they can spray it to their valuables, including their cars, bags, jewelry, laptops, iPads, and more. The product is non-toxic and dries clear on your valuables. Each order of Smart Water has a special code that is registered to the person who purchased it. So in the event those valuables are robbed, if the property is recovered by police, it can be returned to the owner. Reporting for Coral Gables Now, Diana Herrera.
All right, thanks, Diana. And Smart Water kits are available for residents and business owners for $30. And to get yours, all you have to do is call the Coral Gables Crime Watch Smart Water hotline. That's 305-476-7957. We'll be right back with more of Coral Gables Now.
Can I help you, sir?
Found these over by the stairs.
Okay, thank you.
What are they?
Love handles. Lots of people lose them taking the stairs instead of the escalator.
Welcome back. The University of Miami is back in the national spotlight for a study that has the potential to help you make healthier choices. Now, the researchers at UM and at the California Institute of Technology found that colorful packaging is an important factor when you go to the market and make that food choice. Now, joining us to discuss the study is Dr. Milica Mormon. She's a senior assistant professor at the School of Business at the University of Miami. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
She's also the co-author of this study. Doctor, you know, the thought for many years is that consumers made decisions based on their food preference and also, you know, their pocketbook. They really looked at those two factors. But this study shows that the design of the packaging also has some effect on them. Tell me about that.
It has an effect, and even stronger effect lately, because our environment has changed and we are being exposed to more and more information. And in such an environment, it's really hard to really dedicate a lot of time to making every decision. So we are trying to find some kind of a shortcut and digest all this information. So we cannot always spend time to decide what is the best taste, but we may go with some other type of information. And in this case, what we looked at is the visual features, or how the items look, and to which extent that influences choices.
So, and what you found was that the imagery, now does it depend on the color? Is what made it stand out more?
It's a great question. So it's actually a whole host of factors. Color is certainly one, but also brightness, or how light reflects off items, or location in your visual field. So a lot of little visual features together are combined, and what really happens is that one of them wins and kind of stands out, really contrasts from the rest, and that's something that's really attractive to our eye. And that has evolved really over long, like thousands of years. We lived in an environment where we knew that something that stands out is very important.
Right.
So you could be seeing an animal that you need to run away from, or you may see a really bright fruit that you want to find and eat. So our brain has learned that this contrasting information, rapidly moving object or bright object, is somehow important to us.
Tell me a little bit about the eye movement and that whole research around it, because that also, you're able to predict how the eye moves when they're looking at certain things. Tell me about that.
Right, so in my research, the idea was to merge these two literatures or two streams of research on what people choose with where people look and how they pay attention to things in the environment, and to really account for how people pay attention or what people look at. We use eye tracker, which is it's a camera that really records your eye as you look around in your visual environment, and basically records where you're looking real time, many times every second. Wow.
And so that was able to tell you this is where your eye goes first.
Right. So we have, for now we have presented a lot of these food images on a computer screen, and we had people look through the camera at the screen so that we can see exactly at which item, in which part of the item on the store shelf they're looking. So we took images of a real store shelves and simulated them so they look to eye just like real store shelf does. Marketers know that packaging matters, right? So they try to make it attractive. So if I ask you, you could say, oh, this is really, I would buy this. This looks great.
Exactly.
What happens when you go into a store, you may see that product embedded with other products that are of different colors. So you can say, oops. So it looks very blue, and you may pick it because it looks very blue, not necessarily because you like it by itself. But then what happens if that product is placed next to other product that's blue, and then there's only one red. So now this red will be much more attractive, and you may say, oh, that actually stands out to me. I'm going to pick this one. So one product itself doesn't matter as much as the entire environment where it's embedded.
Right. And then, you know, also these choices are made very quickly too, right? You don't have time to think, well, that's the orange one, or, okay. So
And
very interesting, because if you put it alone, you might pick it, but if you put it with two blues,
right. And
the
we
other
have,
one.
in previous experiments, we actually show that people can make this kind of choice in a third of a second. So if you show them two items, they can reliably choose the one that they say they like to eat in a third of a second. So it's a very automatic choice, and we don't really spend so much time thinking through the alternatives.
The whole process.
Yeah.
So how about this one? This one, you've got two packagings that are very, very
Right.
similar here.
Right. So in this case, if I would have to make a guess, and again, we have this computer software which was developed, brain scientists developed it, that really simulates how the eye sees the scene and what is interesting to our brain. So we could analyze this image with this software, and it will create a heat map, and that heat map will tell us particular regions are really important for the eye. And if I would take a guess here, it would be that these red logos will probably stand out on that shelf, because everything else is kind of yellow, green, and white, but there's this prominent red area that may attract attention, especially in the context of simple choice, where you have alternatives that are kind of similar. So I cannot tell the difference really between these two. So I'm going to try to find some kind of thing that will make this process easier, and that's an important point. So, you know, if you're buying a house, I'm not sure that the red roof will make a key difference. But if you're buying everyday simple choices, we're making hundreds of food choices a day, then
the bottom one would stand out more.
Exactly.
And that's not even the main brand. The main brand is the top one. So that's
interesting.
very interesting. And then lastly, you know, we were talking about how this study in itself is very interesting. However, it can be applied not to food, but to other contexts.
Right. So as scientists, and our goal is to really understand how people perceive information and how that influences decisions that they make. And you can think of any environment that's visually cluttered. And I cannot think of better environment than, for example, financial decision making. If you open your retirement statement or social security statement, there's so much text, so much information. And the eye has a trouble processing that information. So the question is, can we make this information more simple and more accessible to people, and can we highlight the key information, like this is how much money you have and this is how much money you will have in 30 years, because that's the key information that may motivate this person to consider saving more for retirement. So we can apply this to other contexts. Also, here in Florida with weather communication, we see all these weather maps all the time. Hurricane is coming, but how are these maps created? Who chooses the red versus green versus orange color? And can we make those colors, can we create them in a more optimal way to communicate to people how serious this issue is?
Wow. Thank you, Milica, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate the study, and we look forward to seeing what other contexts it could be used for. Now, the study was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. It's also on the University of Miami website. That's miami.edu. And staying on the food topic, have you ever wondered what are the food preferences of presidents? Well, we've got a former White House chef that describes the eating habits of 3 presidents and what it was like to cook for them. Diana Herrera has that story.
Former White House chef John Mueller shared an interactive dinner with over 100 guests at the Biltmore Hotel as part of his promotional tour for the book Dining at the White House, From the President's Table to Yours, which features an amazing compilation of experiences, recipes, memorabilia, and exclusive photographs that he collected over 13 years of working as a White House chef.
Our cooking at the White House had 2 aspects to it. We had the day-to-day eating for the family, and then also the official menus. The official menus would be comprised of all the official functions that happened at the White House, and then also the daily menus. So when the President and First Lady would have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, then we'd have separate menus from there. There they ate very, very healthy. They were very mindful about how much calories they were consuming and ate very, very lightly on their own.
The guests that attended the event at the Biltmore Hotel prepared dinner White House style, guided by the very John Mueller himself. It was a close and personal night with the chef, whom not only instructed them on fancy culinary techniques, but also shared memories and stories about the 3 presidential families that he served at the White House.
And one thing that they all seem to like, I have a pretty good recipe for a chicken enchilada. They all like that. They like kind of comforting foods like that. And a well-made enchilada tastes great, you know. Also, I brought from my hometown of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We do a chicken pot pie, but we make it more like a stew, and we make a dumpling and we cook it into the stew. And both President Clinton and President Bush really gave me the big thumbs up and said, I really like this kind of food, John.
Do they crave in the middle of the night? Do they call you and tell you, John, fix me something I'm craving for a dessert?
Well, after we serve dinner at night, usually it's like a 3-course meal. We usually start with like a soup or salad, an entree, and then a dessert or fresh fruit. And after that, they're usually in pretty good shape. They're not hungry again. We do on the second floor of the kitchen of the White House. There's a kitchen there that's private for the family. And we'll keep some leftovers in there. We keep some snack foods, some pretzels, some just little knick-knack stuff from the eat. And if they so find themselves to be hungry, they could find a little something to eat while they're up there. I've never gotten called at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, come down and make me a BLT, you know?
13 years of work for 3 presidential families at the White House left so many memories in the mind of Mueller that he could only put them in a book to remember them all for all times. From the description of preparations for inaugural events and state dinners, China selection, trips to Camp David, and even cooking lessons for young Chelsea Clinton, they're all part of the anecdotes that Mueller shares in detail in his new book.
When I had the first opportunity to meet the President and First Lady, I was kind of freaking out a little bit, and he just came out, shook your hand, and welcomed you, and it was extraordinary. I was like, wow, he's just a regular guy, you know?
Reporting for Coral Gables Now, Diana Herrera.
All right, thanks, Diana. And you can pick up a copy of Chef Mueller's new book at Books and Books. We'll be right back.
Hey, kid, what's shaking? Besides me.
Dad, there's something wrong with the fridge.
What? Ooh, a snack.
Got energy hogs in your house? Now you have the power to do something about them. Log on to energyhog.org. Because nobody likes an energy hog.
Hey, they got Charlie! Eh, who cares?
Welcome back. The automotive department is looking much tidier lately thanks to special storage units. That's one of the stories we've got for you on City News. This is what the automotive division's tire storage bay used to look like. As you can imagine, finding tires took longer. This is what it looks like now. The automated storage tire carousels were installed in the vehicle maintenance facility at 72nd Avenue. The storage units keep the tires organized and secure, and as you can see, it stores the tires vertically, maximizing the use of space and facilitating the inventory process. The Palace at Coral Gables is the epitome of senior luxury living, and the National Association of Home Builders feels the same way. At the association's recent Las Vegas conference, the Palace took home 6 gold awards for Best Independent Living Community, Best Common Indoor Use Space, Best Fitness and Wellness Program, Best Dining Program, Best Lifestyle Program, and the Best in American Living Award in the Senior Housing category. The Palace is a result of a public-private partnership with the City of Coral Gables. It is the first luxury senior living facility built in downtown Coral Gables. And finally, the city is looking for a planner to serve on its Green Task Force. The task force makes recommendations regarding the environmental sustainability of city programs, services, equipment, and facilities, as well as assist in developing a plan for increasing environmental awareness and participation. And if you have a professional background in planning and you'd like to be considered for the position, you can send your resume and cover letter to the Office of the City Clerk at 405 Biltmore Way, Coral Gables, Florida, 33134. And remember that you must be a resident of Coral Gables in order to apply. And changing topics, children at a local private school got to see something very few people have seen in person. We're talking about moon rocks. Rodolfo Roman has more.
Coral Gables is having a visit from something belonging to outer space. No, they aren't aliens, but these lunar rocks in soil. They belong to NASA and they are at the St. Thomas Parish School. It is part of the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math program, which recently launched.
So NASA sends us the curriculum with it. We teach with the curriculum. We also get the specific samples. Where did they come from? Who picked them up? What are they made of?
Students use the rocks as an educational tool. NASA shipped the rocks to the school earlier this year. Gosney was certified by NASA, which is the reason why the rocks are paying a visit. The items must be heavily secured.
I'm certified to bring the lunar samples to St. Thomas. About a year ago, I went to a conference in Johnson Space Center called Space Exploration Educators Conference, and they hold that every year. And I went there and I went to a workshop, and you have to be certified to have these rocks. So I went to the workshop. They gave me the information of how I apply, how I have to treat them when they're here. And I have to, they're in a very locked case. They have to be in a vault if they're not in my possession. I have to hang on to them. If I leave the classroom, I have to take them with me.
Rock brings a hands-on learning experience to the school.
Former teacher myself, I realize the importance of the aspect of integrating curriculum. And we have been very excited, in fact, to have a very progressive science program here at St. Thomas for a very long time.
Children don't only learn from the teacher, but they use the latest technology using mobile apps.
Oh, the kids are so excited. They say, oh, a real moon rock? And I go, yes. And I said, now the rocks that you get to see also, that you get to touch, are moon-like rocks.
We had to try and feel the flat and sharp bits of the rocks, and also I've never actually seen a rock that's actually completely pitch black.
The glass in the rocks, it feels weird, and like some of them are like powder and it kind of looks weird.
The rocks will remain in the school till mid-February. For Coral Gables Now, Rodolfo Roman.
And that does it for this edition of Coral Gables Now. Thanks for watching Coral Gables Television. Make sure that you watch us and like us on youtube.com/Coral Gables TV. We leave you now with some of the sights and sounds of the most recent Sundays on the Porch with George. It's a series of events held at the Merrick House and Garden. And the event that happened in February was a celebration that marked the anniversary of George and Eunice Merrick's wedding. The next one is going to take place April 6th, and that will be a poetry contest. We'll see you next month. Take care.